You know, we live in a world where people are constantly trying to define other people, you know, based on what they see, based on what they perceive of you, and usually it's out of good intentions. But sometimes those definitions that people give us don't really agree with what we're sensing. But you see, because we are afraid to tell them that this is not me, we end up settling other people's definition of us.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes people are led to wanting to define us in a way that suits them, in a way that works for them. So today we want to chat a little bit about not settling. And our topic today is "This is not me." Aloha and welcome to Wake Up to Jesus with Lynx and Nkosie.
Hello, I sounds Hawaiian actually. But you know what? It's so good to be with you today, and we're excited to be able to bring you yet another episode of Wake Up to Jesus.
And so today we have a topic that we have been chatting with. There's a passage of scripture that we read, or a story that we read as a family, and we were just discussing and sharing, and we want to talk about how easy it is just to settle because people maybe are throwing things at you. Maybe people say things to you about you and you feel like, you know what, maybe I should just go with it, even though deep down
Just
you
go
know
with the
this is
flow.
not, even though you know deep down, this is not me.
This is not me. So the story that we're actually reading today is found in 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 38. The backstory of this is it's David when he meets Goliath, and he's just gone before Saul, and Saul is about to give him his armory. And it says this: so Saul clothed David with the armor that he put on a bronze helmet on his head, and he clothed him with a coat of mail. David fastened the sword to his armor, and he tried to walk, for he had not yet used them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these things, for I have never used these things. So David took them off. You know, this story shows us how sometimes people, out of good intentions, give us things or define us in a certain way. You know, with David here, this is King Saul. Let's really paint this picture. This is King Saul. He's the king of the time. David, who has literally just come to the battle line, and he says, I can take on Goliath. King Saul says, okay, fine. If you want to go ahead, I'm going to give you not someone else's armory. I'm going to give you my armory. He gives him his armory. He puts it on. But you see, David says,
It's just not.
something is just not feeling right. This just doesn't feel right. And you know, there's sometimes we go through that in life where sometimes people are trying to put something upon us, but it just doesn't feel right. You know, as I read this story, one of the things that jumped to me was just in my own life, how I struggled with people trying to define me. You know, whether it was in work, you know, I had so many opportunities of being able to be involved in different work situations, but something just didn't feel right. You know, as much as I would do it, and sometimes you would even find some success in it, it just felt like this just wasn't me. You know, even in school, I remember in school, I studied economics because I was so sure I was going to become an economist.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say you were going to become an economist because I was going to be a nurse. My whole family, actually, I actually put my papers, you know, like applied and everything, but it just didn't, I don't know, me and blood, we just
didn't flow.
But yeah, that was something that was put on me, that I should be a nurse, you know, because at that time my mom and dad, my dad's a teacher, so that's your typical, you know, Zim life. My mom worked for a bookshop, and you know, so yeah, nursing was the thing for me. That's where I was supposed to go.
Yeah, and so even as you talk about your side, you know, one of the things that became so apparent to us was just realizing that this is just not me. And that's what we want to talk about today. You know, with David, he just had to come to a realization that this was just not him.
But you know what, the question for me, Lynx, would be, how do you know, that this is not for me, or how do you find that space? Because like, you know, I'm thinking with what happened with COVID, a lot of things happened and people were discouraged. People had plans that they wanted to accomplish, things that they were trying, you know, to get to happen in their lives, and now they're finding themselves in this space where there's confusion, where there's uncertainty, and people are quick to come and say, you know what, I think this is where you fit in, or this is what you should be doing, this is who you should become. But the real question is, where did David get his confidence to be able to say, you know what, this is just it's not fitting in with me?
And I think the answer to that is found in the previous chapter. found in the previous chapters, should I say, because David would spend time with his God. In his pastures, in his time where no one else was there, in his time of seclusion, he had a relationship with God. So his ability to be able to say to Saul, listen, this is not me, came as a result because he knew who God had called him to be. His definition was not from men, his definition was from God. And so when men were trying to put something upon him, he says, listen guys, this is just not me. But you know what really blesses me is that David was bold enough to say to the king of the day, this is not me. How many of us in the same position would have just said, you know what, I'm just going to rock with this armory. It doesn't feel right, but I'm just going to go with it because you know what, after all, the king has given me his armory.
Yeah, and it could be a situation maybe at work, your boss is saying something. It could be even with family, parents, siblings, you know, they're saying this is something that you should do, this is something that we feel you should, the direction that you're supposed to be taking. And because you know what God said to you in your secret place, and we can never overemphasize the power of being in a secret place with God, hearing him speak to you, guide you, direct you.
So David's strength was found in his intimacy with God in a secret place. And so we want to encourage you today, make it a point to build that intimate relationship with God so that whenever someone tries to thrust something at you, thrust something upon you that doesn't come in line with what God has said of you, you put that thing away. It says David put off that armor and he said, this is not me. So today as we conclude today's topic, we want to encourage you. This is your season not to settle, but this is your season to be all that God has called you to be. And remember what Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 says. It says that you and I are the light of the world, a city that is set high upon a hill that cannot and will not be hidden.
So remember to keep shining because you are the light. God bless you.